Have you heard about China's latest move in Africa? At a flashy summit in Beijing, they drop a bombshell, a jaw-dropping $50 billion in loans and funding for various African nations. Yeah, that's a whole lot of cash. But hold up. What does this actually mean for Africa? Is this investment going to help the continent reach new heights, or could it end up being a heavy burden? Let's dive into this juicy topic and break it down, keeping things real and relatable. China's investment. What's the deal? Alright, so let's set the stage. China has been Africa's largest trading partner for over a decade. Yep, a whole 10 years. They've been buying and selling like it's nobody's business. Now, with this massive $50 billion investment, they're stepping up their game, promising to provide a ton of financial support. But wait, this isn't just some random handout. It's a strategic move aimed at creating millions of jobs and funding tons of infrastructure projects across the continent. Imagine this: better roads, updated railways, and shiny new airports. Picture communities getting access to reliable electricity and fast internet. Sounds amazing, right? Infrastructure development is super crucial for Africa's growth. Without solid roads and power supplies, businesses can struggle, and everyday life can get pretty tough. And here's the kicker: China's not just throwing money around. They're also offering to share some serious knowledge and tech related to manufacturing. This means African countries could start turning raw materials into finished goods. Instead of just exporting things like minerals and crops, they could be creating value right at home. Now, that's a game changer. Benefits for Africa. What's in it for us? Alright, let's break down the benefits of this investment a bit more. We're talking about some serious perks for Africa here. Number 1. Job creation. With all that funding pouring into infrastructure, millions of jobs could spring up. Think about all the opportunities in construction, engineering, and even tech. Young people looking for work could find fresh paths and exciting careers. More jobs mean more cash flowing in communities, which can help boost local economies. So if you're a student or a young professional, this could open doors you never knew existed. Number 2. Improved infrastructure. Better infrastructure means smoother travel, faster communication, and let's not forget, reliable access to electricity. Imagine being able to charge your phone without stressing over the power going out or getting stuck in traffic for hours. Reliable transport can also help farmers get their goods to market quicker, which can really pump life into the agriculture sector. Number 3. Tech and knowledge sharing. With China's backing, African nations could totally level up their manufacturing game. We're talking about more factories, more products, and ultimately more jobs. It's all about adding value to what Africa already has instead of just exporting it raw. This could help transform economies and bring about more stability and growth. Plus, who wouldn't want to see their country thriving with homegrown products? Number 4. Global connectivity. Now, let's think big picture. This investment isn't just about local growth. It's about connecting Africa to the global economy. Imagine African products on shelves in stores around the world. With better infrastructure and manufacturing capabilities, Africa could become a key player in global trade. This means more partnerships, more innovation, and ultimately, a stronger presence on the world stage. But hang on, it's not all sunshine and rainbows. Here's where things get a little dicey. Some experts are raising red flags about this massive investment. Let's break down the main concerns. Number 1. Debt trap. One of the biggest worries is the so-called debt trap. This is where countries take out loans they can't really afford and end up owing a ton of money to China. It's like getting stuck in a cycle of borrowing without the means to pay it back. If African countries can't repay these loans, they might have to hand over control of important resources or projects to China. Not cool, right? Number 2. Lack of transparency. Another issue is the transparency of these deals. Often the specifics of the agreements aren't fully disclosed to the public. This can lead to corruption and mismanagement. When deals are done behind closed doors, it's hard for citizens to know if they're really getting a good deal or if someone's lining their pockets. Number 3. Environmental concerns. Let's not forget about Mother Earth. Infrastructure projects can cause a lot of environmental damage if not managed properly. Deforestation, pollution, and disruption to local ecosystems can occur when building roads and factories. This is something that needs to be taken seriously, as it affects not just the environment, but also the communities that depend on it. Number 4. Human rights issues. There are also worries about China's approach to human rights. While they might be seen as a reliable partner by some African nations, their track record raises questions. Countries should be careful to avoid aligning with partners that don't respect human rights, as this could undermine progress and development. Number 5. Political implications. Now, let's take a step back and look at the political landscape here. China's growing influence in Africa is stirring up some serious conversations. Challenge to Western dominance. For years, Western countries have had a stronghold in Africa. But with China stepping in, things are changing. African nations might see China as a partner that doesn't impose a bunch of political conditions on its aid. This can be refreshing, especially for countries that feel pressured by Western nations to meet certain political standards. Number 5. Resource extraction. But hold up, there's a flip side to this. Some critics argue that China is mainly interested in extracting resources. It's like they're saying, we'll help you build, but we want your resources in return. If African countries aren't careful, they could find themselves in a situation where they're giving away valuable resources without getting a fair deal in return. Human rights and development. Lastly, there's the human rights factor. China's track record isn't exactly shining bright. While they may be investing in development, their approach to human rights raises eyebrows. African nations must ensure they're not compromising their values or turning a blind eye to issues just to secure funding. Now that we've unpacked the good, the bad, and the potentially ugly, let's kick around some discussion points. Number 1. How can African nations ensure they benefit from Chinese investment without becoming overburdened by debt? This is super important. Countries need to be savvy about the loans they take on. It's all about balancing the need for development with financial responsibility. Maybe they should consider consulting with financial experts or looking for alternative funding sources. Number 2. What role can Western countries play in Africa's development in light of China's growing influence? Western nations need to step up and find ways to engage with African countries that are meaningful and respectful. This isn't about competing with China, but rather working collaboratively to support sustainable development. Maybe it's time for Western countries to rethink their approach and focus on long-term partnerships instead of just handouts. Number 3. How can transparency and accountability be ensured in China-Africa deals? It's crucial for African nations to push for clear agreements and transparency. Citizens need to be aware of what's happening in their countries so they can hold leaders accountable. Perhaps they could leverage technology, like blockchain, to track agreements and ensure everything is above board. Number 4. What are the potential environmental and social consequences of China's infrastructure projects in Africa? It's important to keep the environment and communities in mind. There needs to be a balance between development and protecting natural resources. Countries should prioritize eco-friendly practices and consider the long-term impact on their ecosystems. Number 5. What strategies can African countries adopt to navigate the complex relationship with China? It might be smart for African nations to create a unified strategy when dealing with China. This could include forming regional alliances to negotiate better terms or engaging in public discussions about the impacts of these investments. The more unified they are, the stronger their bargaining power. So, what's the verdict on China's $50 billion investment in Africa? It's a mixed bag of opportunities and challenges. On one hand, this investment has the potential to accelerate development, creating jobs and boosting infrastructure. But on the flip side, there are serious concerns about debt, transparency, and environmental impact. As we move forward, careful planning and responsible governance are crucial. African nations need to navigate this investment landscape wisely, ensuring they benefit from it while protecting their resources and values. It's all about finding that sweet spot where development meets sustainability. So, what do you think? Is China's investment a boon for Africa, or could it turn into a burden? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and let's get the conversation going. And if you found this breakdown helpful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more juicy content like this. Stay curious, and see you next time.